Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, May the 27th, 2026, 9 a.m., and this is the public session agenda for the Owen Sound Police Service Board. This time I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the First Nations that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. In particular, I acknowledge the history, spirituality, and culture of the territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, peoples of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Adawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen, the Chippewas of Nawash, known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this area, as well as the contributions of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples whose ancestors shared these lands and waters. May we live with respect for each other on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples. Miigwech. A note, I guess it's going to be June that you have special time limits on it, so I'll make a note for that. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Carol, you had an item that you wanted to have for the agenda?
Through Chair, I'd like to have a discussion about taxis and wheelchair.
That's okay. We can add that under, I guess, item I.
I was going to ask the same thing, but I thought there was something on here on the agenda that related.
This was just a new tax.
There's an application for
That, yeah,
That's
that's
sort of separate. Okay, with that, Adam, I call for the motion. Mary, thank you. Carol, second, I saw in the corner of my eye. All in favor? Carried. Declaration of conflict of interest arising out of the minutes and matters listed on the agenda. Hearing none. We don't have any presentations, deputations, or public questions. The motion for the confirmation of the minute of the public session held April 22nd. Thank you, Brian. Seconder, Mary, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising out of the public session minutes? Hearing none. Correspondence received in your board packages. There was an email that was addressed to Chief Ambrose, and the subject line of that was safety for our community. I don't know whether there's any discussion on it now, but if there is, why don't we save that till item 16A, where we talk about the nuisance bylaw. That's all.
I just had one question
Yep.
regarding the email. Did it also go to council? I didn't see. Oh, yeah, council at Owen Sound. Yeah.
Seeing that, yeah.
Do you remember seeing it?
Mhm.
Okay,
Uh,
I must have missed it. Okay, that's fine.
It wasn't in correspondence at the last council meeting on
No,
Monday.
No,
and it should have been.
May 13th, yeah.
Right, moving on to chairman's report. I attended a Zoom meeting of the OSPSB Board of Directors on April 30th. That was our first meeting knowing as PGO, Police Governance of Ontario. And some of the highlights from that meeting were we received an unqualified audit or a clean audit report from our auditors. The transfer payment agreement from the Solgen's office. This agreement was used to develop training courses, materials for police boards, both municipal and First Nations boards across Ontario. That would be over the next 3 years. The MOU has been developed among PGO, PAO, and OACP for the annual employment conference in February of 2027. The new PGO website is up and running and is much improved over the other ones if you get a chance to look at it. You'll need to re-register on this website. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull email addresses and passwords across. You can use the same ones because it doesn't know that you ever existed before technically. And there's a process that it goes through to approve your application. It should be almost instantaneous. You probably won't get it because it'll go to your spam or your junk mail. We found that they found that there's a lot of that. I know I just happened to sign on, I could get on. And then I was doing my weekly, bi-weekly check of my spam, and there was my confirmation email. So if you don't get it right away, sitting in your junk mail. And it'll give you the authorizations to get into it there. As you'll probably remember, Chief Ambrose and Deputy Chief Bishop were awarded the Member of Merit of Police Forces and received their appointment letters back on November 15th, 2024. So on May 14th, 2026, a formal investiture ceremony was held at Rideau Hall, where Mike Duhame, the Commissioner of the RCMP, and the Honorable Mary Simon of the Governor General of Canada presented the medals to Chief Ambrose and Deputy Chief, after which they attended a luncheon at Rideau Hall in their honor. Once again, I would congratulate you guys for the work you've done and this coveted medal. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to, one other thing. There was a Zone 5 meeting on June 9th. I'm not sure if anyone's going to that. It's Clinton Community Center. You received an email from Joanne,
Yes,
so all the details were in. Okay. Yeah, moving on to governance, on April 23rd, 2026, the Ontario Inspector General of Policing, Ryan Tushner, announced the appointment of the Honorable William Horgan as the external inspector for the province-wide inspection on police integrity and anti-corruption practices. Mr. Horgan previously served as former judge and senior litigator. He has also served on the Court of Appeal for Ontario from 2013 until his retirement in 2025. He was previously a justice of the Ontario, to which he was appointed in 2009. And he's also led major inquiry statutory reviews government. First announced in February 2026 as a result of the Project South, the province-wide inspection will examine the adequacy and effectiveness of police services, including the OPP and police service boards. The inspection will focus on system-level practices for preventing, detecting, responding to, and fortifying their organizations against corruption, but not on individual conduct. Inspector General Tushner noted that the inspection is the first of its kind in Canada, both in its scale and its focus on system-wide policy integrity and anti-corruption. The inspector determined it was necessary to appoint an external inspector with experience leading large-scale independent public investigations and inquiries to ensure this work is conducted with focus and rigor it requires in a manner that maintains the public trust. And that's all I have for governance. Moving on to the operational reports.
Thank you, Chair. So starting with the criminal investigations branch. In April, members of the criminal investigations branch presented on human trafficking about the Chichimon to their crew members in preparation for 2026 sailing season. This presentation enabled staff to recognize signs of passengers who may be victims of human trafficking. Detectives were also consulted to review and provide feedback on a newly created online trafficking training, which is being implemented by the Owen Sound Transportation Company. It's a mandatory training for all staff of the Chichimon as well as the Pele Island ferries. All staff members have to complete it, so our members were able to provide that and provide input towards it. Members spend a considerable amount of time in the courts regarding ongoing trials and doing victim prep for future trials. The unit wrote 4 search warrants during April for evidence of the offenses of fraud and also a drug trafficking investigation. The drug unit delivered a drug and firearms related presentation to members of Bruce Gray Child and Family Services, with the goal being that these people are involved in high risk environments sometimes in the course of their duties as well. So giving some training in regards to recognition of risks while they're out in the community as well. The mental health crisis response team responded to 5 officer referrals in April. They conducted follow-ups with 6 individuals, and they provided priority incident response at 25 incidents during April. As of April 30th, there are 0 deaths from suspected drug overdoses in the city for the year, and there are currently no outstanding missing people. Moving on to bail compliance and warrant apprehension unit, BCWA. They laid 2 criminal charges in April and executed 16 arrest warrants. They also did compliance checks as well as sex compliance checks. A couple of those as well. In addition, they assisted CIB with a assault investigation in which a person was assaulted requiring surgery. That investigation is continuing. As well as participated in a multi-jurisdictional theft investigation. Persons responsible in that were arrested and charged by some of us, remain in custody. The community-oriented response and enforcement unit, the core unit, conducted 57 hours of foot patrol in April, as well as laid 6 criminal code and CDSA charges. In addition to those activities, the core unit also conducted 2 station tours for roadsides as well as Keppel Sarawak School. Continue to engage with members of the community who are experiencing homelessness. Moving on to the auxiliary unit. Our auxiliary unit contributed a total of 168 volunteer hours in April. Most notably, a member of the auxiliary unit was volunteered to assist in our regular block training for immediate rapid deployment training, which is what you may recognize as active shooter training. So they were used as an actor for that training scenario over a period of 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And that member contributed 17.5 hours themselves to doing that. Frontline report for frontline officers and collisions. There were 88 traffic charges laid in the month of April, as well as 130 criminal code offenses, which is relatively consistent year over year. There were 36 warrants executed by frontline members. A total of 97.5 hours of foot patrol were conducted by platoon officers, as well as an additional 15 by members of our part-time members. And our part-time officers spent a total of 225 hours in April doing court security. Ride statistics, there were 12 rides conducted in April involving a total of 24 officers. There were 263 drivers checked in those ride programs and 22 roadside breath tests administered. And there were 3 impaired drivers charged over the month of April and 1 7-day license suspension for a warrant issued. Collisions, there was 39 total collisions in April. 19 of which were referred to the Collision Reporting Center and 20 were investigated by members of the police service. The report from Community Services Officer. They conducted regular corporate and social media activities, including frauds and scams, bike control, a hiring campaign, as well as some other posts. There were some community engagement events, notably a wheel and ride meeting with Kiwanis, Grey Bruce Local Immigration Partnership, Youth and Policing Initiatives, as well as some others. There was also some community and school engagement and presentations. Vidra at Notre Dame, presentation to active lifestyles, and presentation to Lee Manor, day away program for phone scams and door-to-door canvassing awareness.
So I just asked about the scams that are going on right now with the survey. Do we know what they're driving at or look information to support?
No, I think our community service officer just got some calls yesterday with people inquiring about our survey. We don't know exactly what the nature of the calls are. Put that out because notification that people were calling and asking about it, and was obviously wasn't something that we had put together. So
Not until December.
And we're not aware of the city doing any outreach, but they haven't heard of any, so they should have policing. So one thing I will say is the wheel and ride event is this Saturday Saturday downtown. So that big event downtown area. Bicycles and helmets and things for kids that need it.
That's in the parking lot behind City Hall?
Well,
No,
the radio announced it
second and third Ave.
across.
Across
City
from-
Hall. like on 8th Street,
It's on 8th Street between Second and Third Ave.
Right.
East.
Oh,
You
okay.
can be sure to come by to Kiwanis tent for a burger or a hot dog.
Well, they close 8th Street for that.
Serving.
that portion.
We have 60 bikes to give away
Very nice.
Yeah,
Oh, wow,
that's excellent.
and helmets.
it's a lot. Okay,
Good.
moving on to the training report. Our newest constable completed her 4-week post OPC training program and is now on the road, partnered with her coach officer. And all members completed our spring block training, with day 1 being requals on firearms and carbine rifles, and day 2 being immediate rapid deployment, as I mentioned. So all officers have been retrained in that area. And those are the reports.
Great. Thank you, Inspector.
Actually, I should just add, I'll do a supplementary report. We discussed the banning of Bitcoin
Oh, yeah.
ATM machines, and I noticed in the spring economic update, the nation's moving to
Legislation.
ban them entirely. So I'll compile that information and so you have it. for
I
next
think
meeting.
England has already done it. in the
Yeah.
UK.
I found that to be interesting that ahead of the curve on that one. So,
Mhm. Anyways, moving on to administrative reports. Courts.
There is one for Krista. Bulk record searches are up, they're up 6.7 or 6.7% year to date and actually 10.6 over last month. It's a combination of, last year we were down a few on the cell block monitors, we had fewer people doing them, and the actual requests had dropped down, so we're starting to see an increase in both. So we've got some extra people in place now and trained, and we are starting to see a pickup in the requests that are in the queue for them to do. You'll see warrants and persons charged are both up substantially over the month before. Some of that will be seasonal. We've seen increases during the summer. And the persons charged down 10.6% year to date. We don't have the data for you yet on what, so as you recall, the pre-charge consultation process just came into place a couple of months ago. We're starting to gather data on what that looks like in terms of, but I think you're going to see that the reduction number is likely at least partially due to that process where the arrests are being made, but the charges aren't being laid after consultation with the Crown. So we'll eventually get this report updated, so you'll be able to see the number of diversions or whatever we want to call them, or consultations. Hopefully that kind of adds up with the number that you're seeing. So it's not necessarily less charges or less workload. I think it's going to be a little bit of streamlined process there. So for the total custodies transported, again, we're fairly consistent with year to date, and we're seeing the numbers go up a little bit as the weather warms up here. Special constable hours are down 10%, and you'll look over last month and you recall, I think last month we had a number of family court matters and other things that were a little bit exceptional that was driving some extra hours there. So we're probably getting a little bit more closer to normal. We are moving towards the, I don't know if you're going to talk about it in the HR piece, Chief, but with respect to the full-time constable, it's going to be eventually up to the courts probably at some point this summer, which would allow us to start getting some of our part-timers back to the road to do some of the traffic foot patrol and proactive stuff that we have done going on. So we've had a competition. There was only one candidate for that. So but just through some holidays and that sort of thing, it'll probably make more sense to have them midsummer heading up there. So pretty much work.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, I had a meeting for earlier this week with the CEO of Grey County, as well as the head of POA Grey County, and just discussed staffing and code security on the PA Prevention Act side. And there are several municipalities supporting providing security, armed security. There has been a decision that are come through from the ministry that armed security and the recommendations that they provided do extend the Provincial Defense Act for it. So we don't have to change anything in our recommendation, because that's how we'd already interpreted that direction. But we were able to through consultation to streamline some of the staffing, so there will be a slight reduction in the number of staff at POA courts. And that will continue to be staffed. There are part-time officers on Tuesdays and Thursdays, what they said. But yeah, we should be getting them back for the rest of the week. We'll put on a regular person assigned to the course. And we also spoke about costs and some of the things that are known and some that are unknown, and how they explain some of the circumstances. And actually, like having an extra judge sitting now at the Superior Court for Walkerton and Owen Sound, but extra courtrooms in Owen Sound, so that's pretty. So we explained that there's really not a whole lot we can do about that when they start staffing and support that courtroom. We have to provide court security, but we're working with the Great County to try and give them an estimate on what that looks like, and moving forward. The court section of this report will get forward to them every month after the board meeting, so that they see how it's trending, what's going, so there's no surprises at the end here.
Right.
Good relationship there, and we meet regularly to talk about that.
With the changes that are happening to the jail in Walker and courthouse, will that have any impact, positive impact on our side?
It may, if they decide that they determine that the remands are going to Walkerton, that'll certainly cut down the travel time and back and forth to, and where we're transporting people down to Penetang. It'll certainly be a lot more convenient if that's the remand location for our area, our catchment area. Certainly it's not as far, and make it somewhat easier, but that's still a ways off too. We're just planning renovations to get it back up. For 10 years.
Yes.
Was there any further discussion on Bruce County chipping into the costs that were associated with another?
We had lots of discussion around how much is coming from Bruce County to Gray County. And they're going to continue to advocate through their routes through Roma and AMO to say, because there's a bit of an adequate facility there and it's coming here, it shouldn't fall to Owen Sound or Gray County. But I don't know where that's going to go. Still waiting on. There was one that I was tracking and that was lengthy, and when it's all said and done, I wanted to say this is the total that it cost. That is still ongoing, and the individual was convicted, waiting sentencing. I had represented, self-represented, and then hired a lawyer, fired a lawyer, appealing. So it's just going to keep dragging on for some time now. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Moving on to the
Into this one.
Okay, doesn't matter.
Okay, well, then for the communication center, those charts, at least the first chart, they always show a lot of complicated numbers there, but there's something interesting that I see in it anyway. It's the when you look at the year to date, you'll see we're seeing year to date reductions in cat events everywhere except for Owen Sound. So we dispatch for a number of different police services. When you look at the total all police cat events, year to date down 7.6% basically, but here in Owen Sound, we are the anomaly where we're up 4.8% year to date change, which is also a 2% change over same time last month. Again, some of that's seasonal, but it's interesting to see that at least for the agencies that we dispatch for, they're seeing a reduction in call volume where we continue to see an increase. So and that also reflects into the daily overall cat events. The average daily rate up about 5.4% from 51.5 last month to 54.3. And when you look at year to date, it's about the same thing. It's about a 5% increase. So that's what we've been saying for quite some period of time now. And over the years, it seems we seem to be doing about a 5, 6, 7% increase year to date, which gets to be difficult to absorb as we keep
period.
Is it possible if someone called 911, they would get a busy signal?
No. The answer is no, and that came out. I tried to clarify that through an article in the media, that there's no time that it brings through to busy. we'd have to have so many phone calls. We've got to reach that number. In order for somebody to get a big busy signal, it will answer, it will connect, and it will say, please stay on the line. So but not, it wouldn't be ringing as busy, it would say, wait for an operator, you're already connected through, but stay on the line. And if somebody thinks you're gonna speed up the process, as I explained, maybe that if they hang up, they'll try again and maybe get through the next time. All it does is move them from the back, from where they're moving through the queue, and back to the queue to start again, so. But no, there's no busy signals through.
It is possible, I think, that if it was cell phones, the cell phone tower could be full, and they would get a fast busy signal.
Oh,
So it never reached the station, it would just go to the cell tower and say, I'm overloaded, I can't do it. Because you've got that, sometimes you get it on landlines too. Call a radio station or something for a contest, you get a fast busy because the circuits are overloaded, just trying to get to the station, never gets close. So that might explain some of it. It's highly unlikely, but
Yeah.
but I'm assuming that all those people around the fire were all calling us from their cell phones. So that might.
Yeah.
We did it, and if you're speaking about that incident, we did the. Incident of all the calls, we give all the response time calls. Where I didn't see any concerns on our end, the processing of the calls, so. And then our response and. For anybody else, that's up to them to look at it. There.
You automatically do a critical incident review for everything like this. Is that just part of your normal process?
It depends on the circumstances. I mean, we don't review all of them, but certainly if there's some concern or some indication that there was a concern or problem with it, that 911 response.
Yeah.
That we've become aware of, that we'll look at it and see. And like I said, if anybody did choose to hang up, they were all called back directly. Then short period of time to say you called 911, is everything all right? Because it might not have been related to that incident, it might have been related to something else.
Yeah.
And they, not a busy signal, but they got a hold, or they decided not to stay on the line because they knew somebody else beside them was speaking to 911, but everybody's contacted.
Thank you.
Anyway, yes, so of the 6 police services that we place for, Owen Sound Police is the only one experiencing increase in year-to-date call volume. 6 at least so far. The others are seeing some decreases. So anyway. IT and infrastructure, there were a number of NG911 certifications for a call hosted partner. So I'm writing, they completed 4 of 7. We just heard from Chris yesterday that the 5th is now done and they're moving on to, I think, number 6 next week. So everything is moving along well with the NG911 certifications.
6 of the 7 are done now.
Well, there you go. They had an extra one yesterday. So yeah, we're almost there with those. I believe there's some training that is taking place this week here for some of our partners.
Next week.
Monday. Okay.
Yes, there's a.
The OSPSB, I think we maybe mentioned this before, but the OSPSB has initiated an artificial intelligence committee to start looking at AI technology, procedures, policy, risk, and security. We are starting to see a number of vendors that are approaching us with various different products, trying to streamline reporting and things like that using AI. So obviously the OSPSB is some concerns with what that looks like, looking for some standards. So Chris Hill, our IT director, has agreed to participate as a member on that committee, just so that we stay at the forefront of what that looks like. And hopefully, if there is any time savings or whatever to come out of it, we'll be first to know about it. And substantial programming completed to accommodate the change of address ownership from the municipality of West Grade to Hanover. Other than that, I think that is it for the IT and OSCCC reports.
So I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but the severed off portion of West Grade that borders Hanover to Valley of Hanover, the town of Hanover size, and so every single address within that location, because we can't do a map upgrade yet, needs to be physically altered so that it directs to the right response from the proper police station and the proper police and the proper fire based on the geography. So everything within those planned areas had to be manually entered into the system. Set up there, so it was a significant change, and it also had to be changed on the opposite end so that it wasn't it no longer went to, so if it wasn't
Delete
straight,
it from one.
it has to go to Hanover, and then so you have to add Hanover, they go West Grade. So, yeah, it wasn't just a simple change of boundaries, there's a fair amount of work that was in it.
Just some of the lengthy behind the scenes stuff that seems to always happen, but nobody really appreciates that till you hear it and go, oh, that's how that works.
Didn't have a huge heads up on the fact it was happening.
Resources.
So, we're continuing to, roll out OSL, which is our, that will assist with payroll, that will assist with the HR tracking, all those things. We're still working with the city, they've got issues with their payroll system, and they're requesting that we revert to a simpler file format for the transfer. So we continue to have, issues and transfer that information to them, so that removes the, need for us to provide, Excel spreadsheet, all the data in it every week, when we do, every 2 weeks when we do pay. So, hoping that we can get that working moving forward fairly soon. As well, they're providing templates for uploading training courses, so it does keep track of all our training, keeps track of all the hours, keeps track of all the requests for time off, all those things, so it's just being implemented now, hopefully by the end of June now. We attended the Emergency Services Career Expo in Toronto, about 80 candidates. Additionally, this includes next appeal region. I think is a cottage country option, so hopefully that was effective. They went to the constable selection system symposium. We've 10, the new position of full-time police constable, the course was posted, it's closed as the deputy mentioned. We'll be filling that. We had 10 candidates complete the first round interviews for the recruit constable position, and 5 complete the second. And we offered employment to 1 to attend OPC in June. That was positive, and we had 5 candidates interviewed for the part-time data clerk role. I guess the new hire wasn't last month, it was this month, but we also had 2 resignations, so part-time communicator and a part-time data clerk. Part-time communicator just started training in April, so. Yeah, that's it for resources right now. We still look for more recruit constable or experienced officers.
Moving on to lost hours.
If I can continue on with that, so sick time, you can see total number of sick for April through March, it's up considerably. Year to date has been up considerably. For total number of shifts, and WSIP remains about the same. 26% increase from April to March, 78% increase this year compared to last year. But much of that has been attributed to longer term sick leaves that we have that we've been carrying. While the number of shifts are high in total, the total hours are reasonably low. So there's a return to work program that was going on there. One short-term WSIB case was resolved in April, and the members returned to full duties. The other one remains standing. They're not receiving any top-ups at this time.
Do we know, sorry, I should go through the chair. Do we know the comparators to other municipalities? Is this normal or we higher, lower?
We are
Well below?
a small percentage compared to many of the other services our size, so I have up 10, 12, 20 people on WSIB alone.
Okay.
Some services that have gone as high as 1/3 of their staff.
Cornwall was that one last year.
Yeah.
Huge percentage, like something like 40% of their staff wasn't coming to work.
Or aren't doing the job they were hired.
Yeah.
We are
Very
very,
fortunate.
yeah, we are. Do that.
The RCP actually has a huge number.
I can imagine.
Big ones.
Most are up in the double digits.
They handle it, wow.
Health and safe after. brickwork, that's been sitting out there for several years. As you're aware, we have shaling issues with bricks deteriorating off the exterior of the building, and they continue to fall. There's, as of last year, they thought they were moving ahead with it. There was something interesting with, that had to have some sort of feedback from buildings across the street, because something to do with the historical heritage designation for the buildings, that they have some input on what any sort of a repair or renovation looks like over here. So the project remains outstanding. We haven't heard any sort of updates on it. So just left it on the list until it gets done, but we do have bricks continuing to shale, and particularly out the front near the front entrance, which is problematic because we still have concerns gonna fall and hit somebody, but
So does the building inspector look at that? I mean, they certainly were if it was
I mean, they would.
Leggett's building.
That's a pretty big liability if we have breaks.
That's right.
breaks falling at the entrance of the police station, like.
Yeah, and ultimately it's the skin of it's not the whole brick. I mean, it's a chunk of the,
Still gonna hurt.
yeah.
No, but
It's just they deteriorate over time. Water
It's
gets
gonna be
behind them,
there.
they freeze and they pop off, and
The entranceway is a little bit better because they redid the portion of the entranceway 3-4 years ago, closed it off, and we can remove bricks and put new bricks in. But the south wall is probably the biggest issue right now. But yes, there's issues around that.
So you call the city, tell them there's a problem, and then they would send the building inspector, or how does it work?
this was identified years ago.
Macintosh
Part
report.
of the- Well, even
2018.
even prior to that.
Identified before I came.
It started off, I believe they were going to clad the entire walls, and now it's, at least as of last year, was moved to the, I think, the top 6 feet or something only. They were gonna put some steel cladding around the outside, but again, I don't know where that's at. We haven't had.
But it is in the Macintosh report or
Yes.
whatever. Yeah.
Heard Perry Macintosh. Yes, Carol.
Chair, so costing. Do you have any idea on what this would cost, and will this move through any sort of capital plan? Like, where does this sit budget wise?
It's a city's expense. right?
It is the city's expense, but is it under the capital because it's a larger cost item? Or where does it sit, like, waiting to see I just need more direction on,
All I know it was under capital in 2020.
right, that's what I thought,
19, 20 and 21, and
okay.
got taken off because of COVID, and I don't know if it's gone back on.
So we need to make sure if it was on and it was removed, that it's back on again, because there is a capital budget review coming forward, so I don't want it to be lost. I think we need to make sure it's somewhere so that eyes are on it and there's some accountability. So I just wanted to be sure that we did that.
Didn't you do a report like in September, October? That lists, compares what the Perry Macintosh does to cities capital plan?
Yeah.
Maybe if you could send that out to the board, we'll give you some fodder for the meeting in June.
Yeah. And you're saying that the capital data sheet was completed for 2021?
I think it was 2020, it was supposed to be
Okay.
done because it got pulled because of COVID.
So we need to see where that is at this point in time and at least get it in the queue. So that it's not just a conversation, that there's documentation and some sort of funding attached.
I assume it
No.
was back in the queue if it was priority in 2020.
I think it should
You know-
Should have moved priority in 2026.
I don't want to assume. Sure.
It's probably there, but I think it's been moved out.
We'll just check and make sure your little piece of paper is stuck in there somewhere, because it needs to be in the queue somewhere.
I think one of the concerns with that one too is once the brick is only waterproof from the very outer shell, which is the part that gets fired when they heat them up, and once that comes off, the brick becomes porous, so there's a potential that that one's going to deteriorate even more because it gets wet and freezes and pops and.
And it may still be in the capital.
I think it is, but
We
it's,
just want to be sure, like not to assume.
Seeing what.
I haven't seen the full, Marion, that hasn't come forward
Sure.
to the council yet, so I can't comment.
We reported last month on a couple of water leaks. One was in the comms area and the other was at the front entrance. The city has addressed both of those. I'm not sure exactly what they did or was done, but we haven't seen those leaks recur. They were spent most of the day pounding and hammering and sounded like it was I'm not sure what they were doing, but it was
Big work
obviously a
project.
bigger repair that had to happen out there, but we haven't really seen that we had before either. So hopefully they're resolved. Cleaning services, we've left on there, continue to do an excellent job. To our knowledge, the contract remains outstanding for them. We've noticed a significant difference having a dedicated facilities person dropping in at least a couple of days per month. He's here for an hour or so. He's been changing out lights and the usual stuff that tends to go wrong with the building. So that's been a big improvement. Elevator still needs to be locked out manually in the evening to prevent after hours access to the upstairs.
I'd extend that to unauthorized access in the daytime as well, like, just because somebody can walk in. And their records person doesn't see them, they just push the button in the elevator and on. There's no, and yes, it's a contained area. There are security access doors, but the door to our offices are wide open. And somebody can just walk right in. Theoretically, walk right down to any of our offices without any security check.
It's not signed authorized use only, is it?
No, it's a public access, it's a public elevator, so like I said, there's no issues as long as. Or as long as there's a control on use it, how they use it.
So the person has to manually come out and unlock it. There's no mechanism that they can.
Right now, that's not.
Push and unlock.
Right now, you can walk in the
Yeah.
front door and push a button and go up the elevator.
Is-
So anybody can, whether they're upset with us, armed, anything like that, and
Is there a possibility of having something?
from what I understand, they're going to lock it out, then they'd have to come up and not go on the elevator and put it.
So can you manually lock it?
I believe that's.
You can manually lock it
Yes.
because I've had to have them, I've had them come and unlock.
Why don't you just make that a rule? That it's locked during the day and if somebody needs it, they can come and ask. That makes more sense. I
We
mean,
have to look at, just to do that, because it's become an issue, there's something to do with.
Fire. Yeah.
As we talked about that originally,
Yeah.
there's some problem with it. Because it's a public elevator, it comes down to building design and the layout, front desk layout and everything else.
But you can't use an elevator if there's a fire anyway, right?
goes to the ground.
Not supposed to.
We assume this one's not that old and it doesn't recognize fire.
it just doesn't make sense that you have a secured door. That you can't get through unless you got access. But if you wanna use the elevator, go ahead. So if that's, I mean.
I agree that, there would be nothing to stop somebody from walking in the front desk, going up the elevator, walking right. There's no obstruction.
I think the thing should be, it should be pass lock on the elevator, just like on the door.
Like
we
you
shouldn't-
do
We shouldn't. be
at City
taking this
Hall
way.
to get downstairs.
I can walk in the police with a rifle, get on that elevator and come upstairs, like that's
Once, yeah.
probably not gonna happen in Old Sound, I don't care, like that shouldn't be locked.
So how do we expedite this? Because we've just discussed this in a public meeting that's open to everyone. So at this point, that creates a risk. I think that raises, I mean, it's an important thing. So how do we move it forward?
Lock it out, whether we're supposed to or not. That's the answer.
Yeah.
And then work backwards.
Let me have a chat with the city prior to next month, because I remember there was some reasons. Part of it with that elevator is it's old, that they have problems getting parts for it. So there was some circuit board or something that went in it a year or two ago and it was out for quite some time and they had to cobble something together to make it work. I think it's so old or whatever that parts are becoming scarce for it. So it's it's been a challenge, but let me talk to the city. I remember there being a reason for it, and some more information on that for next month.
So circling back to the issue of the brick. Gail, do you have that where it is in the budget?
Yep, so we did a comparison from the Macintosh Berry, which was June 2023, and it was the condition of the brick before, and then the city responded back with a city response action letter on September 23rd, 2025, and it was not mentioned in the city's letter. And so the status was there's no current update provided by the city pending confirmation if the 2025 capital plan includes masonry repairs.
So it wasn't included then or not?
Yeah.
And if you could just send that whole report to the board, because it covers off a whole list of items that the report identified where there was issues.
Through you, Chair, would it be helpful for the Director of Corporate Services, the Chief Treasurer, to have that? Because they're the ones who do the data. She probably has the report, but we're talking about the masonry, so we want to be sure before it comes forward to council that there's some acknowledgement. It may already be in there. We need assurance that it is, and if it isn't, we need the request to go forward.
Well, I know they have the building condition assessment.
They do, they do.
Right.
This is capital data sheet.
Highlighted.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So will you forward something to Kate
We can.
identifying that,
Please.
what is the status?
Same
of
if this was.
information?
Alaska. All of them.
Is it still in the capital?
Part of the June discussions at council.
Yes.
It certainly seemed like it was moving ahead a year ago, because I remember being quite surprised that they were waiting on color selection from the Heritage Building folks to have their input on what color which I was quite surprised with.
Well, we just want to be sure, right?
But that was again a year ago, and I don't know where it got to, so. Front lobby washroom several months ago, back in February, March. So the issue downstairs is there's no lock on the public access washroom in the lobby. We actually had an overdose in there way back when, and challenge is we don't know when somebody goes in or out. So if the records clerk isn't, or if she steps away from her desk or the photocopier, so somebody ducks in there, we don't know that they're there. Through the winter months, we are often accommodating folks that are warming in the front lobby. Some people that have been have temporary bans from Safe and Sound and things like that come in and sleep in our lobby. So we do see that happening. So what we requested was an actual controlled access lock where we can either give out a key or that sort of thing. So we at least know that somebody's in there and can check on them. So way back in March, I went to facilities. I checked 3 weeks ago or so to find out what was happening with that, and the indication was it's still awaiting scheduling by a locksmith. Again, I haven't heard an update since, so that one still remains outstanding for several months as well. AODA compliance, long-term, just leave this one on there, but applying capital expenditure for it, but long-term will need to be included in any facility assessment that needs reviews, because we are not compliant with our front desk area right now, and probably some other areas of the building. So probably at the start of May, they were in and did the HVAC balancing work that was probably close to a week. Most of that was just measuring the flow coming out of the diffusers and doing some adjustments to that. So we're hoping that that's going to assist with temperature imbalances. Last summer, we had a lot of condensation leaks. That was all of the stained tiles that were mostly in the upstairs of the building here. And that was caused by something to do with the balancing for HVAC, which was leading to the air being too cold coming through the ducts and creating condensation based on the humidity. So hopefully it's going to fix that, but this is not a long-term solution for the HVAC. It's really to band-aid the system that we have, but we still have issues with actuators and simply the age of the HVAC system, and probably some maintenance that hasn't occurred over the years with it as well. So
I think it was 2 days after balancing that we got a complaint on this past weekend that it was over 30 degrees temperature on record area.
Yeah.
So there was. But that was on a weekend, and I don't know if they came out, did anything about it or not.
Short version is every one of these areas or diffusers has an electronic called an actuator that opens the thing to allow hot or cold air in, and because it's a hydronic system, they have water running through them and they get gummed up. They need maintenance every year. You're supposed to, as I understand it, take them apart and clean them out to keep them working properly, and that's what most of the time is the issue. The system is the actuators freeze open, freeze closed, so you either got a overheating, overcooling, in particular, like we did down in records. So usually that ends up being an emergency call for the HVAC repair guy to come and clean out the valve and get it working again, but mostly that's causes these issues. Painting, we got some painting done downstairs in early May. Some portions of the main floor hallways and some of the office spaces downstairs. So that actually looks a lot better, different color downstairs. That was not sure if we're getting any more this year, Chief. You haven't heard?
I haven't heard anything. They were starting with that. They were gonna see what.
We probably had painters in for a week, so they got quite a bit done. Some of the doorways, door frames, and the main hallway areas and records, and a couple of offices that were painted. So anyway, that was appreciated. Parking lot storm drains. Haven't heard an update from the city as of yet. They were supposed to be doing some clean out work in the spring because we continue to have blockages in the parking lot. Gives us some flooding out there. And main floor staff washroom renovation, I have not heard anything about that either. It's supposed to be moving forward this year. Contractor's been secured. I don't think we've seen any security requests for any workers or anything come forward, so I'll have to try and get an update on that to see when that's going to happen. So,
Yeah, the tender was awarded and we said we need to know who's coming in to do the work. So we security clearances at a time and haven't heard it.
I believe it's the same contractor that might be doing work on the either the Tom or the library washrooms, or maybe anyway, there was a bundled work plan, I think, that went together with our washrooms. So I'm not sure if they've started on other projects first, but try and get an update for next month. I think that's it.
No, thanks, Dave. Any other questions for Dave on facilities update? Moving on to a financial update. Chief.
I said,
Just the spreadsheets.
anyway,
Have them on there.
Anyway, the financial update has gone over the numbers with the clock and with Kate and projected out at the end of the year, and it was about $30,000 within the budget. Projected to be over slightly, but it appears to be well within line, and there's some things in there for some unexpected things as well. Number seems to be online and on par, and where we want to be.
Stuff. Moving on to Chief's activity report.
So just a couple of things I'll highlight. One day was spent, well, there were 2 days in London. One was the Provincial Offences Act Court Management Conference. The second day was the Ontario Court of Justice Court Management Conference, where we met with judges, justice of the peace, court staff, court admin, everybody, and crowns and defense lawyers, everybody involved in the justice system, both POA and OCJ, and went over some of the efficiencies and how to go forward and improve the flow and what's going on in the courts. So that was very productive. And then, well, I had the opportunity to go down to Queen's Park and meet with the Soul Gem, the Attorney General, and the Premier, and to discuss some of the issues surrounding policing. And one of those was court security. There were a number of other issues that we discussed. Some of them was grant funding and small municipal services and things like that. So That was good. It was 2 or 3 hours with the premier. It was a couple, I guess it was 2 hours with your ministers. And then we spent 2 days at small and mid-sized meetings. Those are probably the most productive days that we get. We start talking to all the other areas, services that are going through the same things that we are, so. That's about it.
Okay. Moving on to other items in new business. So I think, Marion, you asked to have this next item on the agenda,
Mhm.
review of the nuisance bylaw. And I was looking back in the past minutes, and this topic was on our agenda in April of 2025. And at that time, we reviewed the bylaw and found it was enacted to safeguard quality of city, communities, and neighborhoods, protect the safety, health, and well-being of the public, and ensure the continued enjoyment of public and private property for residents, visitors, the city. At our March 2025 meeting, we also discussed that house shoppers weren't feeling comfortable downtown. It was also noted that business owners were locking the doors during the day to control those that were entering the actual place of business. This still exists today. Bank ABMs in the River District are closed after banking hours. Once the branch is closed, the ABM vestibule is closed. This also extends to the east side. It's another FI. Not only is their ABM doors locked at night, but during the day, you have to be buzzed into the branch, into the actual banking place itself. So it's hasn't changed much since the last time we talked about it over a year ago. I know that Chief Ambrose at the time said the community is concerned and he's receiving daily calls, and I don't think that stopped because of the visibility of substance abuse within the city and the disorderly behavior and public use has increased significantly in the last year. And also I understand that there's been a significant increase in the number of calls for service within the River District itself. And then we all heard of the stabbing that happened on Monday. I think we also at our meeting in April, there was a motion that we sent to the city requesting council convene a meeting with the River District Board. I think that was the July meeting from last year. Coming out of that meeting, I think was the implementation of a group called the Neighborhood Response Team. I think that came out of that meeting. And it was funded by Health Canada and administered by the county. If that's correct, Chief. I don't go by memory, and sometimes it's short.
Yeah, no, there was discussion around that, but that, some separate funding, I think, but certainly it did take place over the summer.
Yeah. And that the following winter, I think.
Oh,
yeah. And that group is no longer active. It was I guess the funding ran out. Thoughts, discussions, Aaron, you had asked it to be on the
Well, I was just looking at it to see if there was any clout in it to enforce what people are complaining about. But enforcement is, I think I understand correctly, by law enforcement. And then after hours, they would call police. Is that correct?
that's the way it should be. It should go to it should go to the city bylaw first.
Mhm.
And certainly. And maybe it's improved a little bit in the last little while that they've been proactively down there. I don't know if they're doing enforcement, but they're still.
Because I know it came up at council as well, right?
Could be why they're more visible down there in
Mhm.
the last week or two. I've had some discussions with the about whether or not this meets all the needs and whether the file that I provided to the city provides a little bit more in city of Coburg, whether or not that could be incorporated or added to it. Had some discussions around that. look to see whether that's an option.
Okay. So it is being somewhat looked at.
Carol,
So just to summarize, the neighborhood response team is no longer active, so we do have our community-oriented response team downtown. We have foot patrols downtown. Anything else visible downtown other than those two things?
Bail compliance are down there quite a bit because
Okay.
the individuals that they're looking for are on terms and for warrants outstanding, so they're spent a fair amount of time. Well,
So two questions. About a year ago, we had a community engagement forum. And there were discussions that arose out of that. Where is the action following that? Because that arose because of the concerns around downtown safety. And just general concerns. So there was a fair amount of investment in that to occur. I think 100 people attended or so, which is significant. And that was, you could only have so many attend, so that was selected participation. Where are we with that? So that's my first question.
So that wasn't.
That was city led.
That was city.
So I shouldn't say that, I think that was board initiated,
It was
but it was city
led.
led.
And I haven't seen any follow-up or heard any follow-up on that from the city at all.
Since it was board led, is there?
Oh, city led.
City led, board initiated as a request based on concerns that came through the board. Is there any advantage for the board to communicate back to the city saying the issues continue and in fact, as you've just described, the incidents are getting elevated in the river district that you have to respond to? Is there any advantage to the board sending, asking what's the status? Has there been any further action? We recognize the issues still seem to be occurring or escalating. What may be potential strategies, at least, rather than just letting it, you know, we, because you're expending resources to respond to the calls. And we're hearing more and more from the public. I know certainly council is. Is there an advantage? That's my first question.
But
Can it be a topic on the council board?
You talked about, you used the word advantage. I'd like to clarify what you mean by advantage.
You have a question about my intent around the word advantage. Let me tell you, let me ask you what your concerns are about that.
I saw what happened last year.
Yeah.
The motion was very specific.
Yeah.
And when it moved into the agenda.
Yeah.
And the forum for the meeting, it changed considerably.
Yes. So the intent of the board was modified as the event unfolded.
That's the way it appeared to me.
Okay.
Maybe I'm
No.
misinterpreted, but
It was just, it was poorly run. There's more talk out of there about how it was run. Controlled.
And solutions.
And anything else.
the solutions instead of it.
What was this guy doing? So I'm not surprised that there's been nothing following up.
And I just look at it like, I know there's lots of media, social media going on right now about what's going on downtown. But I don't see anything in the public purvey. So they're not going to the newspapers. They're not going to City Hall. They're not coming making presentations to the police service board. I think it's one of those things that's under the surface. And unless it's in somebody's face publicly, it's going to continue. And I know one of the biggest issues that I've read in social media, and I think it's very, very, and I'd like to highlight it, is, you know, one camp is saying, you know, these people deserve respect. The other camp says, totally agree, but respect is a two-way street. And based on what we've seen downtown, there's a lack of respect on one side or the other. And maybe it's a combination. But until this comes above the surface, I'm not sure whether anybody's going to take it seriously.
I'm surprised the river district hasn't convened something. Because the store owners are very frustrated.
And that actually leads in nicely to my second. I know, not that I'm trying to create work, but you mentioned that there's more calls for service to the River District. Are we able to pull what that change in volume is and track costing for police services in response to that change in volume? Because that's an important factor around the whole River District component. Because the police budget is supported obviously by tax dollars. And we need to have that kind of understanding, what's trending and where do we go from there? But is that a lot of work to ask for?
Well, so, the board chair mentioned there's an increase in calls for service, and anecdotally, I can tell you that it's an increased calls for service, but we don't break it down by river district. Calls for service, it would take a lot of work, say.
Yeah.
You have to go through and review all the calls and find the location, plot them on the
Okay.
map and everything else. We're working on some software that will do that. And we have some funding available to implement that software and put it so that we have a heat map and can look at all your calls for service. And we may be getting that soon enough that we can use it. But at this present time, I don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
We are getting a lot, I'm receiving a lot more calls, so I'm sure a number of them come through counselors as well that are, like, info at site from ours or city. That people are frustrated and certainly we need to move forward. Part of it is still staffing resources with having to fill the courts and not being able to fill the new positions. And you know what, I'd love to be able to hire 4 new officers. They were supposed to be hired to go to college in March, and now they're not going to college in March. They're not going to college in June. They'll be going to college in September if we can hire them. They need to, if they're new recruits, if we can hire experienced officers, even better, because then they hit the ground running. But and now that we can't find the right candidates, if I hire somebody in September, they're September till December at school, December till February in class here, February until June, probably with their coach officer, Margie, maybe May. So you're looking at a year, so even if I can hire somebody, it's next May. Before now that because of the scheduling for the college, we're looking at a year out before they're hit the ground and working.
And what I'm hearing you say is your system is not set up to separate out the calls for service geographically to the River District area, and that would take more person hours to actually collect that specific information to support any sort of future request for augmented service.
Well, that's why we, through some grant funding, we have some analytic tools that we're purchasing that we can put that in.
Potentially. Yeah.
Right now, without that tool, we can't geofence, in
Yeah.
other words. Put a
Okay, that's
big
what it's
thing and
called,
say, show me all the,
geofence.
show me all the calls in here. We can do an individual address and say, tell me all the calls that happened at
Yeah,
whatever that address is. We can also do some free text searching, like all the calls that contain this word sort
Yeah.
of thing. But there's some limitations. So yes, to delineate the river district and say, show me all the calls there. That's the software that we will have.
I just got an email from the individual from that company to say your text online for
Okay, that's
implementation,
good.
and that was yesterday afternoon.
so we currently have a circumstance and situation where we're getting increased calls for service in a particular geographic area. We are getting concerns from the public that are coming through mayor and council and to the police services as well. We have a particular business community that's impacted by some of these concerns. So basically, who owns this moving forward for solutions? I mean, who will take who will move this? I mean, is it city, is it police, is it river district as a board? Because otherwise we can discuss this ongoing, but who is going to be spark plug who says, let's draw people together and have this conversation and figure out what we're gonna do? Because we know it's escalating.
No, that's fine. I was pleased to see that you shared what you got in writing, and I was surprised to hear from John that a number of people, and I know this just echoes, I have heard from
Yes.
hundreds of people, literally business owners, everything else. Downtown is where the problem is. That's where all the services are that are basically doing nothing, and I'm referring to like Safe and Sound and those services, they're Band-Aids. The wellness center actually takes a person in. and helps to restore them and get them back in. They've got 45 beds, those beds are full.
Yeah, they are.
So when. This is just my opinion of a service like Safe and Sound. They're actually enabling people to live on the street and we want them off the street. I personally do not feel comfortable walking downtown on Sound, daytime or evening. I just go down, do my business, and I leave. So as far as I'm concerned, everybody is just looking the other way. So if there's the bylaw enforcement officer, how would you contact them? Where are they?
There-
But-
It's
What are we
reported.
gonna do?
You go to the city website to, there's a place called Report of Concern, or actually the bylaw website. Yeah, and you have to give your name, who you are and what you're reporting. And
On a Sunday afternoon, I drove up
They
without having.
they don't work on Sundays.
Driving home, so I just drive up Main Street. There, it was cooler. This was last Sunday, so that everybody's living in doorways on Sunday. So if there are apartments or businesses up above that, how do they ever use their own doorway? Because there's people living in those doorways.
Really good point.
And it's really pathetic. I have traveled 5 continents. I've never seen anything like downtown on South.
And someone might say that, well, other cities in Ontario have it just as bad or worse.
I don't see it.
When they had the hotspot before, it was city initiated for security. For that, is that correct?
Yes. It's very similar to this, like,
Right,
we said, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem, and finally everybody was up in arms and then something had to be done. I've said it before, we can't do it alone and it's not simply a police solution.
Exactly.
We can't be there 100% of the time and we can't be the only agency we call to ask for a solution. There has to be help, there has to be others that take the lead, take over. Speaking to what you're saying, like, we've initiated, a year ago, we brought it forward to say this is a problem, the board took the lead and implemented it. And we still, like, I'll say, Sunday morning, bylaw's not working, bylaw works Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. Is that the proper scheduling for bylaw? I don't see it, but
I thought,
that's, and maybe they're expanding it when they expand their people, but we don't see them. I've never seen a bylaw officer on their own. Something walking down the street. I've seen a number of bylaw officers. There's other things, there's other areas, and it's not my responsibility, but there are other agencies that have to take some responsibility. And we can only do so much.
so if when police are doing their foot patrol, if they see an incident like this, as Mary's explaining, do they just tell the person to move along?
Oftentimes, and they'll be
Or they just
offering
move them.
assistance to see where, who it is, but most of the time they know who they are.
Yeah,
And they've dealt with them a number of times in the past, and you can't be here and move along and find another location. There's an issue we talked about on Monday, a lot of people are pushing shopping carts, we know that they're not gonna push for the shopping carts, we know they're stolen. If the person, if it was somebody's bicycle, if it was a bicycle we knew was stolen, they were riding it, we wouldn't allow them to keep using it or push it or ride it. What's the difference between that and a shopping cart? And those costs go to everybody else, and people who own the shopping carts, I'm sure don't want them back. So I mean, those are issues that, and then when you do something about that, then there are some people who will write to the media and say, oh my gosh, look what they did. You give them plastic garbage bags and took their shopping cart. Well, yes, it's, not
And-
theirs.
earlier, that was my point. I can understand why the River District hasn't tried to initiate something.
Mary,
I've seen them with large recycle containers and they've taken those from whoever.
Mhm.
And it's just full of stuff. But this is aside from it, the people are concerned about the cost of food and whatever, so they're blaming it on tariffs and gas and whatever. What about the cost of store? Grocery carts? Somebody's gotta pay for that.
True.
So what we're talking about is a downstream impact without an upstream solution. And the individuals that and the circumstances are exactly downstream because it's it's going to flow that way. So I go back to who is the catalyst for drawing a conversation group together or initiating action. I'm hearing it, correct me if I'm wrong, because I could hear. You're not seeing it as a policing initiated catalyst. Marion, you're thinking River District because the impact is primarily River District.
Right.
And River District Board is reports or has accountability to the city. I go back to the fact that we could be discussing and discussing and discussing this. It's time for us to say enough. Demands for service and policing is going up. We know your budget didn't. It went up, but not to the point that you had asked for. So how do we initiate this conversation? We have a counselor who sits on River District as a representative, but our public is telling us they want action.
Right.
The River District are complaining that they've had enough, but they have zero confidence in the city doing anything. The city is not doing it. The city is saying that the county looks after it. So what is it that the county does? What is their responsibility?
Ask
It's what?
which question is because others may have more expertise than I do around the county. Marion, do you know? You've sat on county council
Yes,
as a
but
fill-in.
other than the social services they provide, they've taken over that.
And they're like,
But
I'm
it's-
safe and sound.
And their stop team or whatever it is.
Well,
And
I've heard the mayor say that the county's looking after it. It's
But
not the city.
It's not being looked after, obviously.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what the problem is. There's 18 Grey County councillors. What do 16 of those councillors have in common with the CAO at the county? The deputy CAO at the county, the director of community services at the county? All 19 of them wake up in a place not called Owen Sound.
Mhm.
Those are the 19 people that are dictating what we're doing in our city. And the city is letting them do it. And until that ends, it's just gonna keep going. We don't need any more data. Like if I hear one more person ask for data, I'm just like, what more do we need? Like we've got 6-year-old little girls going up to dance and guys jabbing their arms in front of them. Like, what more do you need to know after that?
I don't think we need to know anymore. I just think
Somebody
that-
has to take the bull by.
We've got a city that will not come up with a solution.
I think that the
Simple.
River District and those people that are concerned need to rise above the surface of the water and make their feelings known. Right now, it's muted. It's the way it's been looked at, I'm assuming, it's just on Facebook. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter.
It just goes in circles on Facebook. The perception from business people, individuals, seniors, young people, people with children downtown, is that it's a police issue, and it's not a police issue. As I think Brian nailed it, it's the city has to do.
But I think somebody has to go,
Somebody.
a group has to go to the city because we tried it last year. We tried to initiate something. It didn't work. At least I don't think it.
Nothing further has come of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
good way to put it. No.
And I just want to elaborate. We did have a letter from a concerned resident. Right, and that's what we need. We need the people who are commenting on social media to also move those concerns forward through connecting, through mayor and council, city manager, police chief, because that the information that was shared, that was part of our board package, came from someone who took that next step. because social media is an information and it helps you take the temperature sometimes of specific groups. But having documented concerns formalized through the channels of Owen Mayor is a critical step that needs to happen. And we haven't had a lot of those. We've had some, but not compared to the number of comments you see on social media. It's disproportionate. So I believe people care about our community and they want it to improve. And we need to have that documentation because it becomes part of the public record for accountability moving forward.
So Carol, that's a fair point. But the problem is it's too easy to get to a keyboard. Yeah, social media.
Yeah.
And people
Yeah.
take the easy way out.
Yeah.
But if you're a leader in this community, you take a leadership role and you do something about it. You know, we can't do it, we can't count on the river district to say we're upset. We can't count on people to come to us. Like we have enough information. It's just the city doesn't want to do anything about it. Like I honestly, somebody has to have the courage to go to the county and say, guess what? You've completely failed us. We're taking this over. It's not that hard. It's called leadership.
Well, I think the people that are being impacted are the ones that need to take the leadership. And I think that's the River District. I think the River District Board has to wake up and say, okay, it didn't work last summer, we don't think. We need to try it again. Because the way I look at it is we're here last July. We moved to here. Now we're coming to here. I don't see any upward.
No.
So the River District Board needs to take the leadership because they're the ones being impacted the most. And I'm sure that the police service, police board, chief ambers will support the action coming out of that.
And that's all well and good, but who gets a spark under the river districts?
I don't know if this has ever happened before, but could this board invite that board and have a joint discussion? I mean, we're talking about them, but they're not part of this table conversation. And sometimes things have to begin with a conversation. We all have the same goal. We can all work together towards the same goal, but not if you don't sit around the table and not a square table. And maybe this board could extend an invitation to the River District Board and say, okay, what are the possibilities? We aren't solving it. They're not solving it. What are the common threads that we can at least start to put some initiative behind? Let's begin with, and I hear what you're saying about, you know, data. Data informs requests like budget increases, but we know we're hearing, but let's start because otherwise we're going to continue to be talking in silos. And it's time we knock those silos down and cross-bordered and say, this is for our community. We need to move forward with this.
If I can respond, I think the conversation would take place, and it would be no different than what you're having right now, because everybody there is going to agree with the exact same issues and the exact same concerns, and they're going to say, what do we do? Because everybody has the same interest. The problem that I see it is that, you know, there's still going to be the demand for service for the police. Our calls are up 5%. If I ask for 5% more officers next year, then so be it. That's what we're going to need, because we have to keep track. And there's a lot of building going on right now. Well, take down every morning and see another apartment building popped up, where the footings are in for another one, and that's going to increase the population as well. So I mean, there are changes coming to the city as well, and the calls for service keep going up. And we are in a position, like I said last year, where we needed bodies, and it's not going to change as we add more population to the city. One of the issues, and Larry mentioned it, is that the problems are concentrated here because they by Grey County, yet there's no investment in policing from Grey County. And the other 16 councillors get up in the morning, nobody living in their community, unhoused or homeless, and they're in the tent because they don't get the meals, they don't get the supports, they don't get their outreach. The majority of those other communities don't have the problem that we have because everything's concentrated here within the city.
So
The counselor on the. council
Travis
person.
Dodd.
Dodd. So further to that, we keep looking for one group to lead. And maybe it's a shared responsibility where there's co-chairs, where the people start to work together, might assist in moving this forward. If we don't make the request, and whether that's the ideal approach or not, or something evolves, but if you always do the same, you can't expect a same result. This is a system, built the system. We have the ability to change the system. Let's change the system. How do you do that? You start to bring the key players together. Are they all that should be at the table? Probably not, but let's begin. So I would like to suggest, if the board agrees, to at least extend an invitation to the River District Board, and whether any city reps other than want to attend, and let's begin a conversation that starts with shared goals, and then where do we move from here? Our community needs us to move forward, us collectively. Where do we move from here? That's my request.
But not
Oh,
unlike,
knowing truth.
not unlike the issue we had before with the hotspot. It has to be city-led. The council is the elected body to hear the concerns and deal with the concerns and get the right agencies in place, right players in place. So somehow it has to get to council, and whether it's through our meeting with council at our June meeting, that we bring forward a request that they commence action on what's happening. I don't know. Because you and I can beat our heads against the wall and it doesn't go any further.
And I don't disagree with that one little bit, because unless city is behind this, it's really hard.
Unless city leads it.
That's right.
Right.
Not
Has to lead
They
it.
just look the other.
However, in the interim, my experience has been that if suggestions come forward to city from groups that have an interest and ideas come forward, it gives them a template or meat to work with as well. Sometimes if you want to change, you want to be the one who gives the message for the change. And that's where sorry,
No, let's go ahead. We're just saying Reach was here. Go ahead.
no, that's good.
I think,
I've taken
Last
enough
year,
time.
they had everybody together, they all talked about it, and I mean, you can talk all you want, but
Yeah.
if nobody does anything.
That's my.
What's the
Yeah,
point?
yeah.
I mean, you're just spinning your wheel.
And that was city led.
And I'm wondering if
That was
So-
city led.
the River District Board, someone on behalf of the board, went to council, one of these open meetings that they have, open mic, what do you want to call it,
public forum.
that start some discussion, or would it just be,
Well, when it's a public forum, there's no discussion by council. It pretty well has to be,
A deputation.
yeah, and it's difficult whether, like, you want to discuss it as a closed and free discussion, but you can't really, because it's not, doesn't fit the criteria. So,
I would argue, we're already where that's gonna be. Like, I'd love to know what you think, like, do you think if we go to the River District and they come to the city and they say something to the city, or we all get together, we're all gonna end up where we are right now again. You can't say anymore. Like, we're gonna do all this again, and we're gonna be right back to the same thing. What are we gonna do about it? Why don't we just skip all of that and say, right now, what are we doing about it? It, like,
I agree.
everybody wants to talk about what's going on, but nobody wants to talk about a solution, and that's really what has to happen. There has to be a solution.
so
And to me, that's the city and police. They've
Well,
got-
then a motion needs to go to council requesting that action be taken to address the issues of complaint in the River District.
what complaints are there? Are there any documented complaints? We've got one.
Oh, I thought there was others.
I think I think there's all kinds, but
Well,
But
I mean,
that's the whole thing. There's all kinds.
whether or not.
the
they're-
they're all-
River District
Sure.
obviously has discussed it, police have discussed it. And the complaints are maybe discussions as opposed to complaints
Like,
on the
all the stuff on
concern.
social media stays there. It never
Yeah.
gets aired where it should be. Like, this should be the prime thing in the Sun Times every week.
So it needs to say complaints along with enforcement of the nuisance bylaw. Because there's obviously things in here that fit.
They block the streets.
Yeah.
They totally disrupt the city.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful, beautiful city. I was born here, grew up here, but it's never been like this before.
Why don't we take a 5-minute recess, Reach here, and we'll flip it back and.
More reaching.
All right, we'll call the meeting back to order. Everybody get the treats from Reach, move on. I think we wanted to, finish off talking about the, issues in the downtown. And I think we're gonna bring that discussion to pretty much a close. But I think, Mary, you had a motion that you wanted to put forward.
Yes, I would. That, I'll just read it out, that in an effort to ensure the continued enjoyment of public and private property for residents, visitors, and property owners in the city, the OSPSB requests the City of Owen Sound Council take action on concerns raised by the River District, Police Service Board, Council, and municipal residents regarding loitering and other social disorder matters taking place in the city of Owen Sound, particularly the River District.
There was a seconder for that? Any discussions? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Thank you very much, and I think we'll, so. I said carried, right? Yeah.
Did you? I know we.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. Good. Yeah. Moving on to item number B, outside alcohol, BYOB municipal gatherings.
So
Okay.
there were changes to the alcohol regulations and legislation, and it allows now for bring your own booze to outdoor gatherings and municipal gatherings as long as they're licensed through municipality. Just to update the board that in discussions with the city, they are not going to be licensing or with permitting in events at present time. Regarding ability and such, so they're not moving forward with it, so it won't be an issue, and we'll have to deal with it at present time.
So just to clarify for the public, the process for this is the event organizers would make the request. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the event organizers will make the request, and the city would public gathering that they allowed for that. And then they would license it in that form, and they keep bringing their own alcohol to the event. But the direction the city's taken is that they'll be licensing any events, even if they're requested.
Right.
So if there's a beer garden. And they have a license for that beer garden, and it's at Kelso. People can't bring their own booze then,
No,
they still have to, okay.
they have to get a separate license for that.
So nothing changes to the current, the current festival events licensing that's in place now.
Moving on to item number C, International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference. And I put this on the agenda as our governance policy 009 regarding the chief attending conferences only applies to national conferences, those within Canada. And as I understand it, this conference will be held in Florida. So if I could have a motion to approve the chief's attendance at this international conference, Marion? Good. Brian, thank you. All in favor? Item number D, law enforcement torch run.
Yeah, so highlight to everybody, Wednesday, June 10th, we'll be having the law enforcement torch run. I don't know if you saw on the way in, but there's sizers for all the t-shirts, so if anybody's interested in assisting. There, it's $25 for registration, and includes a free t-shirt. Also, the event starts early in the morning, and there's one that runs through Saugeen Shores, one runs through Hanover, through West Gray, last year the Chatsworth as well.
Actually, they dropped Chatsworth and added Kincardine this year, so Kincardine is new.
Okay, so I know they had a meeting on that yesterday afternoon, so they've added Kincardine and then Hanover and then West Gray and then back here for lunch for a barbecue. If anybody's interested in joining, in just even the run walk from Owen Sound Police Service up to Owen Sound District Secondary School, and or if it wants to join and help at the barbecue following for all the athletes and the people who participate, you can assist with barbecue or whatever, in whatever capacity you would like, and just want to get out there for anybody who's aware wants to participate. And I know that we're short of barbecuer who it normally does, so
I've been assigned.
Yeah, so and Craig's and Craig's probably not the best one for barbecue, so we'll. That's not.
You're looking for helpers to work at the barbecue
Yeah. Well,
on June 10th.
Yeah.
I could do that.
I can help with that.
Flip those burgers.
burgers, hot dogs and.
I can't cook, I'll stuff the buns.
Yeah.
That's.
Who's going to man the support car vehicle?
What's that?
Well, last year they had a problem with the motorcycle, so we should probably.
Operators out of the country for this event.
I've been-
I missed the run in Hanover when I was waiting for the tow truck somewhere outside of Walkerton area.
Alright.
You had me on
Unless the board's looking to entertain a request to replace the motorcycle, it's.
like to have a ride on it. So what time should we be there?
Yeah,
I will have, or Kayla can let you know that.
Okay.
I think it's around 11. But, I'll let you know for
Mayor
sure.
and I.
so we meet here at 11?
No,
Or
up at,
right up at the.
OSPSS, right?
Yeah.
It was really great last year just to be with the walkers and runners as they went up to the barbecue. Just the enthusiasm that they brought forward was just amazing. So they walked the hill faster than I did.
Smile.
Oh,
Hearing that
amazing.
behind you.
Yeah, it was really heartwarming to be part of that, certainly. So I certainly had fun.
And so if anybody is interested in a t-shirt, you have to register ahead of time. There are forms. They're out by the Amy's desk.
I just want to buy a t-shirt. I'm not well. Anybody else.
Yeah.
You can
Cancel that day.
just register and get your t-shirt.
Mind the LA Marion just.
Sizers, they do tend to fit large, just let you know.
All right. Moving on to item E, CSPA aggregate disciplinary report.
Okay, that is one that by now you've seen a few times. CSPA requires the chief to file a aggregate disciplinary report biannually, so you have to receive it prior to June 1st and December 1st of each year. So you've now had several. This will be the June 1st version, and there is nothing to report basically on this one. So during this time period, the chief of police did not impose any disciplinary measures that would require this report to be triggered. So if the board receives that report, this is one of the several that also carries an obligation for us to publicize it on our website. So we have a link, I think, under the board section, Kayla, but
Yes.
we have several of these, so this one will just need to get posted once received.
All right, moving on to item number F, Zone 5 meetings. Turn this over to Kayla.
For the upcoming Zone 5 meeting that we are hosting on October 8th, Amy and I toured both the County of Grey Council Chambers and the Sydenham campus as potential venues. After reviewing the space requirements and lunch arrangements for the anticipated number of attendees, we believe that the Sydenham campus is a more suitable option. The Sydenham campus includes a kitchen that can be used during the event and allows lunch to be served in the same space and it can be consumed in the same room. In comparison to the council chambers, it provides appropriate seating, but you're not able to eat in there. So they have 2 additional rooms, which would make it easier to host everybody and be able to provide the food in there. So it was,
Just keeping in mind that at the beginning, there's combined the chiefs of police and Zone 5 directors. And then they split off into separate rooms for meetings.
This should still be empty. An empty. space.
And then at that point in time, sometimes they get all back together for lunch, or otherwise, well, yeah, they'd all come back to the central location for lunch. But there has to be a
a
separate
separate
room
room.
for them to meet.
Okay.
One thing I like about that is the opportunity for people to wander into the makerspace and have a view of what's going on there. Just, it's pretty neat.
Mhm.
But there should be another empty room up there.
At the Sydenham campus?
Yeah.
Okay, I will.
Do your share.
They have classrooms and things down
Mhm.
there.
just so you know,
Yeah.
the logistics of what's going to happen. There's probably 25 chiefs in
25 people, yeah.
Okay,
total 50.
just with having lunch, it would be easier to have.
Well, everybody come back together.
Yeah, we can have it out in the space, and then there is a screen, and you can have, if you need to have video, it's all able to be hooked up there.
Is there internet available?
Yes, it's the same internet as the county of
So
Grafton.
Zoom, yeah.
Yes,
They have
Yeah.
lots of.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and if we needed IT, we would just let them know, and they would come in from the county to,
Okay.
if we had any issues.
All right.
Do I need a motion to go ahead with that, or can we?
I'll make a motion that you proceed to
The Senate?
Sydenham campus, yeah.
Second, Mary, thank you. All in favor? Okay. Moving on to taxi license application for Platinum Taxi, and this report is to advise you that under the requirements of the Owen Sound Transportation Bylaw, Chief Ambrose has approved a taxi license for Platinum Taxi, and all the background checks and everything else have been done and completed, and everything's in line. Moving on to.
That's coming up under the.
Yeah. Item number H, Ontario Police Fitness Award, FA incentives.
Yeah, so as you can see in the report, obviously it falls in line with our strategic priorities, our member with us and our members and sustainability, but really the big push for the Police Fitness Award annual pin. We now have somebody in-house that can administer the testing, so we're looking at increasing our participation in that. And several other agencies provide incentives for their members to participate, and either in the form of swag and gifts or time off or something like that. And like some time to take at a future time, but at least in covering the time that they spend to do the testing. So just bringing that forward to the board, looking for some input. It varies considerably. Some of them are $3,000 a year bonus, which I think is pretty excessive, and that would be something if they're looking for that, would be in bargaining, but some smaller incentive for participating, something to consider. That's in the form of swag or time. One issue with time is unless you have the staffing in place, don't put time back. Partial shows.
Any thoughts, other thoughts from incentives? Yeah, Carol.
Through your chair, some organizations will actually allow a certain monetary award to be donated in recognition of that to a charity or a support agency of the individual's choice. So it's a way of, it's a win-win, the community agencies are win, and the individual wins through the fitness and the acknowledgement, and they choose who they'd like to donate to. So has that ever been considered? Sometimes it's $500, it can be whatever figure, but they get the privilege of choosing who they want to support as well. And I didn't know if that had ever been considered as an option as far as incentives.
No, but it was 40 officers at $500, that'd be $20,000.
Sorry, I just used that as yeah. But the concept is, it's
Yeah.
pay it forward to the community while you're still having a gain physically yourself by the award. And it's a way of connecting as well.
Period.
So they would still receive a pin and a certificate. And then we are to choose whether they get swag, time off, etc. I would certainly vote for some type of swag.
Because the swag.
Or does it still have a pin and a certificate?
Yeah, yeah.
That's personal.
And the swag would be customized with.
Yeah.
Would be
Yeah.
so please.
Yeah.
Depending on the number of years of service that you've done it, or the number of times you've consecutively done it, like type thing, that have changed the level of swag, whether you start with a coffee cup, you end up with the gym. Just for example. Thing like that, and also hold in mind that we've had some discussions internally for looking at the new coffee cups that we got, so there's a big interest in consider selling them to people. They really like them, and the answer was, as long as we're covering our costs, I don't have a problem with anything coming out branded merchandise to promote the service. Like pens, all those things, you know, be out there, be visible. If people ask questions, be proud of where you work, those types of things, I think are really positive, so we are looking at expanding some of the items of sweat we have in stock.
Do you have lunch bags?
We haven't, we haven't done lunch bags yet, it's an option.
The comment would be, they don't have time to take lunch anyways.
They have time to take it out with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so Marion's made one suggestion. Everybody agree with that? I don't think we need a motion for that, do we? Yeah, we just said it was
Yeah.
discussed and.
That's fine, and we'll just move forward with getting some swag and getting back to the committee that's looking after it, we'll say, we'll be ordering some swag materials, providing something.
Okay, good. So you're gonna register?
Yeah.
Good answer.
Certain, it's age related.
Oh, is it?
There's
Okay.
certain age where you get to that if you can actually fog a mirror for 20 minutes.
That'd be my level.
Mine too.
One push up or something at my age, I think.
Plank for 20 seconds or something.
Stay awake.
Yeah. All right, moving on. You added an item at the beginning. Item I, and there was, Carol, I think you brought this up, tax regarding wheelchair.
So, I'll just, had sent an email to the board chair as well as the chief of police. And also I had the opportunity to speak to the individual who raised this concern yesterday. So I'll just read the first part of the paragraph that I had sent, and the board chair did respond and has some really helpful information that hopefully you wouldn't mind sharing at this board meeting. So at the last two Owen Sound City Council meetings, the gentleman presented to council at the public forum section on the agenda his concern about the lack of transportation available to individuals with handicaps and needing wheelchairs. He indicated that all taxis were refusing to take him because he had a wheelchair, and he stated that no taxi in Owen Sound will take people with a wheelchair. This raised significant concerns for him, and he wanted to bring it forward. So because we license taxis, I wanted to check the accuracy of that statement, but also, are there any restrictions or any liability issues that we need to be aware of as a board, why a taxi may be concerned about taking individuals with wheelchairs? So I'll pass it over to the board chair if he didn't.
Yeah. So in addition, my concern was, is there anything in AODA saying that public transportation has to be, well, this isn't public, I guess, this is private transportation, has to be accessible. And this is specifically identified by the individual as after hours from the transit, accessible transit that the city provides.
All right.
So the issues were.
So, and it was Carol sent me the email and she quoted chapter from a private transportation company driver. A private transportation company driver doesn't include a taxi cab driver. So we have to focus on taxi cabs. Section 12 of the bylaw talks about transportation standards according to accessibility for Ontario's with disabilities. And item 12.3 states that taxi cab agents, owners, and drivers must make vehicle registration and identification information available in accessible format to persons with a disability. It does not require them to be wheelchair accessible. Going back to 2014, when we originally put this through, there was considerable discussion around whether the board wanted to mandate that all taxi cabs have at least one in their fleet that was wheelchair accessible. As I recall, the discussion was, that's not really good business because it's significant cost for a taxi cab owner to even have one vehicle. And if they have one, sooner or later, it's going to be tied up and there's going to be 2 or 3 people waiting on that particular cab. The gentleman's comment said that they wouldn't take him because he had a wheelchair. And maybe that's not totally correct. Because when I did a quick search on the internet of the taxi cab websites in Owen Sound, they indicate that they will take fold-up wheelchairs and walkers. But the client must be able to ambulate themselves.
That's the,
The issue here is that he would have to be assisted and there'd have to be physical interaction with the cab driver. And this could put the passenger and the cab driver at risk for injury because you don't always have a 6'2" guy.
or damage to their equipment.
Exactly, exactly. The other issue that made it difficult to mandate city cabs is for wheelchair accessibility in the city. They own, city actually owns the Owen Sound Transit Mobility Transit Service. And also the Home and Community Support Service also operates wheelchair accessible. So they'd be in direct competition. So publicly funded compared to privately, that just doesn't mix. So that's one of the reasons why there was no mandate to have wheelchair accessibility made for taxi cabs in the city of Owen Sound, because there are alternatives. To your point, 9 to 5, after those hours, there are alternatives there as well, depending on what the situation is. They could contact Viago, Voyager,
Boyko,
I think they do after hours, but it has to be arranged ahead of time. I may be wrong in that, but. And if it was an emergency and they had to get to the hospital, primary thing for a hospital is an ambulance.
Mhm.
Taking them up in a taxi cab will put them at the back of the line for sure. So, was there anything else you wanted me to add to that, Carol?
No, I was just doing a search on what AODA does request, and sometimes the phrasing can be very general, right? And so a summary is that it sets legally binding rules to make public travel across Ontario accessible for people with disabilities, applies to both conventional and specialized transit networks, including city buses, subways, streetcars, trains, ferries, and licensed taxi cabs. So,
huh,
yes,
But that's a very broad,
it is abroad, and so I think.
says accessible.
So, the AODA expectation and compliance certainly is a whole other area of discussion point as well. But I really appreciated your feedback around that. It's about independent mobility. If a person who can transfer independently themselves in and out of a taxi cab, they're independent, whether they have a cast, non-weight bearing
Walker, crutches,
amputee. If they can physically transfer without assistance, then to me that they may not be as we may expect, but they are still independent in that transfer and wouldn't require help. All they need is a fold away. AODA also says taxi cabs or any other transit cannot charge extra for storing wheelchairs or anything. So there's specific regulations around that. But I think it's an important conversation to have. And as we grant taxi licenses in the future, is there any reason why we can't ask what their service plans might be for those who have wheelchairs, or how are they doing? Because we don't expect everyone to have this set up for wheelchairs. It's very expensive, but it doesn't mean people with disabilities can't be independent and transfer one-legged. Or, people, any of us around here could break a leg and be one weight bearing on one, need a walker. We can still get in and out of a taxi.
Mary?
So,
but I don't think it's the transfer that's the issue, it's
liability.
folding that chair up and getting into that vehicle. The individual can't do that.
So is
And the taxi drivers are saying they will not take on that liability.
is that what they're saying?
That's what it boils down to.
well, no, actually it says here that when it says, they don't sound indicates taxis thing, will take fold up wheelchairs and walkers. But the client must be able to ambulate themselves.
Right.
So they'll put it in the back of a van.
Yeah.
But then you have to be able to get into the van without physical interaction from the cab.
Then there shouldn't be any issue.
I would think there would be a significant
Oh,
increase
transfer.
for cost of insurance for the taxi driver if they have to physically lift the person into.
Yeah, well, that I can understand.
I mean,
And I certainly understand
Yeah.
that part. As far as putting in foldable walkers or wheelchairs, my understanding is our taxi will provide, taxi services will provide that. It's the individual into, the independent transfer in and out. That is,
Has that been discussed with this particular individual?
I want, it
Yeah,
needs
so-
to come to the board. I don't know, John, maybe you can say whether it's been discussed.
Yes, he wanted to make a presentation to the board last summer, I think.
Okay,
And this was one of the same issues.
okay.
And I talked to him about it. And the explanation I gave to him, he was satisfied with. And it had to do with the actual transferring of him to, now it was a little different situation because that instance, he really should have gone to the hospital via ambulance.
Okay,
But now, I don't know if he's strong enough to transfer himself or not. But, I mean, it's laid out there, that's the way it is, so that's the question.
so I think it would be, as we move forward, to always be aware when we're looking at licenses, to just say, you know, we do have individuals who need,
Is-
what are you planning as far as a private license? Will you unload and load walkers and foldable wheelchairs? And it says they will.
They have to comply with the bylaw. I don't think there's any reason for us to give them a
Yeah,
questionnaire.
Is there
Yeah.
a question on the application form, are you fully accessible?
I'm not 100%
Sure.
sure on that, but I know this does come up every 2 years. They have to do a mailer review through the city. And Krista Clooney sits on that on our behalf as specifically for the transportation bylaw and
Yeah.
wheelchairs and accessibility. And it gets brought up and they talk about whether or not they'd offer incentives to companies to purchase a vehicle in order to meet those. So it gets reviewed regularly.
excellent. And the real issue is, can you independently transfer in and out of a taxi yourself? Period. Like, and if they can,
I think part of it too is that when they speak about it, and I'm just going from what Chris has told me, because I've just been at meetings. The question is that if they do make that purchase to have that vehicle specific to transport somebody who isn't able to. Board parties and didn't have the authority to make that transition, they were to purchase that vehicle. The cost still have to be the same, whether or not they're interested in independent agency, and there's a significant cost in purchasing a vehicle that's accessible.
sure.
Well above what it would be for a regular one, so is it worthwhile investing that money? I think it's come down to a business decision that we don't, so.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you very much for letting me bring it forward.
Yep, okay. All right, moving on, we're looking at item number 17, if I could have a motion to move into closed and confidential closed session.
I will move the motion by myself and seconded by Brian O'Leary, that the board move into closed session, and upon termination of the closed session, the board move into confidential closed session. These meetings are to review and discuss matters that fall under section 44, item 2 of the Community Safety and Police Act and section 25, item B of the OSPSB General Policy 003 Board Governance to consider A, educational or training sessions, B, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the board. C, personal matters about an unidentifiable individual, including members of the police service or any other employees of the board. D, labor relations or employee negotiations.
All in favor? Yes. For those of you who are watching me live on YouTube, the feed will reconnect upon the board returning to the open session report out of closed and confidential closed sessions. If anyone would like to view the remainder of the open session, they can watch the live stream on the Owen Sound Police Services Board's YouTube channel later today. The video recording of this meeting will also be posted on our webpage following the meeting.